Welcome to a new edition of If I Ever Live to Be. Today I have Heidi Heino. She is the founder of Hsquared Wellness. And I'm just going to tell you all, buckle your seatbelts because we're going to talk about so many different things today. We're going to talk about getting healthy. We're going to talk about mindset. We're even going to talk about the government. So just hold on to your seat. And it's all relative. Just wait until you hear Heidi's story. So welcome, Heidi.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
I am so glad you're here. And, I was thinking of a good place to start. So I think first we're going to let's start with what you're doing right now. And then I'd love to kind of dive into what led up to all that because, I've had the pleasure of just sitting down and talking with you. We've met in person several times. And again, thank you to Buffy Payne and Few Fellowship ladies in our, Atlanta chapter. And you came down from Wisconsin?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay.
Next door neighbor.
And that's where we met was a couple of months ago at their leadership conference. So just in hearing all that, I know all of this, even though I threw out like a bunch of different topics, it's all related. So, right now you were doing Hsquared Wellness. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, many years ago, I've always been in fitness in some fashion. I played sports in high school. I coached sports post high school, so lacrosse, field hockey. Yes, I still play that, and basketball. And then I was also a ballet dancer. I was a ballet dancer for many years. I stopped actually dancing when I was in my 30s when I was pregnant with my second child. It was just like, okay, I can't take this anymore. My hips I'm going to need hip replacements at some point. So I just better stop. So it took me a while to find something to give me the same release stress wise than ballet did. Like I could leave all my emotion out on the floor. And I just felt so good when I was done with the class. And so I tried so many different things to replace that. I tried yoga, I tried Pilates, and I started doing fitness classes. And I'm like, hey, I kind of like this. And I started lifting more outside of fitness classes because, you have only so heavy you can go when you're in a fitness class. I think they top out at like 25-pound dumbbells. And so I started lifting heavier. And that turned into me going back and becoming a fitness instructor and a personal trainer. I had someone say, you should compete. Compete in what? And they're like, well, bodybuilding. I'm like, me? I was very lanky. I had great quads from the years of ballet, but I just didn't think that I could compete. I was convinced to do it. So I did one competition. I did very well. And so I continued. It was kind of like you get bitten, you get the bug and you want to keep going. And so I competed in bodybuilding and actually it's called figure. So basically it's bodybuilding in 5-inch heels. And I got my pro card in 2013. And I competed professionally as a bodybuilder. And so that was kind of the beginning of my fitness business. At the time, I was personal training at the time and competing. So they kind of go hand in hand. And so I started Hsquared Wellness. Well, I think at the time it was called Heidi Brandt Fitness, which morphed into Hsquared Wellness later on, where I would do VIP weight loss. So people that really needed a high touch person in their life to help walk them through the weight loss process. I coached bikini competitors, figure competitors, so mostly women. My clientele is mostly women, although I can help men lose the weight I have in the past. But for competition, I usually would train women.
Yeah. And that is so hard. Like, I think until you have either done that or witnessed someone do that, you just can't fully appreciate how hard those competitions are. I mean, I remember this was years ago in my radio days, but we had this gorgeous girl that was part of a real estate team, and they would come in and do a show. But the real estate was her full time job, and she would do bodybuilding and competitions on the side. And I mean, she actually brought a weight with her, a food weight, to
Mhm.
measure out her food so that she was eating during the middle of the recordings, because you have to, take in so much protein, but you have to measure
Mhm.
it out. And it's very intense. Like the level of
Mhm.
dedication and the mindset around that, which we'll get into, it's beyond comprehension until you've done it.
The mindset is huge. I remember counting Altoids. So I would log the Altoids I was eating in my macro counting app. Whatever I put in my mouth, I would count. I weighed all of my food or measured it. I would. It was a bit insane. It makes you, it's a good way to get a eating disorder, and a lot of women do come
Mm,
out of it with eating disorders. So you have to be super careful. You have to be strong in your mind to be able to know that when you get that lean, I would get down to 6% body fat, that this is not natural or normal. This is competition. You then go to your off season weight, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with the way you look at a normal person's body fat. And that's a tough bridge to cross for some women. And then they end up with an eating disorder or even have problems with their metabolism post competition because they didn't have the right coach. Yeah, there are some coaches out there that just prescribe the same diet plan to everybody, no matter their size, and which is not the right way to go.
yeah. Well, I love how you take this very holistic approach to what you do as well. I mean, we were chatting a little bit before the show about GLP-1, so we'll get into that. But share a little bit about your program, and then we'll come back to the GLP-1s and why they're absolutely,
Sure.
my personal opinion, terrible.
Well, right now I am launching an 8-week holiday health reset. So it takes into account your physical health and your mental health, because there's nothing like holidays to poke holes in your mental health, right? You're going to go fight with your uncle or whoever it is on the holidays, and you just need to leave the room. Um, but so with the holiday resets, it's 8 weeks of fitness training. So there's a programmed fitness guide that is progressive, so it increases the intensity week over week, and it encourages you to lose weight along with it. I also have an AI food tracker. So this is cutting edge, brand new to market. You can take a picture of what you're eating and it'll log your food for you. You can take a picture of a menu and it'll tell you what's the best choice on the menu. It helps you with recipes, and then it can also help you solve problems with cravings as well. So if I'm not available, the app's called Miri, and the AI assistant, her name is Lyra. She can walk you through your cravings and everything else that you're going through if I can't help you and answer that question. Along with that, you get weekly coaching calls for diet and exercise with me. It's a group call, and I will answer all your diet and exercise related questions to help you get to that next level. And then along with this, you get the fitness app that comes with that has the fitness training. They're all videos that you follow, and every day is programmed for you. And you can move around the days if one workout doesn't work for one day and you need to switch your cardio and your lifting day. So that is on the physical side. On the mental health portion or the mental fitness portion, you get 8 weeks of mental fitness training through Contemplate. Contemplate is a mental fitness framework. It helps you play the tape forward so you make choices that are going to make you more peaceful in the long run. That sleeve of Oreos might make you feel really good for about 20 minutes, but after that, you're going to be beating yourself up. Why did I eat all those Oreos? I need to go get on the treadmill. And you can't outwork a bad diet. So, Contemplate helps you with what's most important to you and what steps do I need to take to get there. And so you get a year subscription to that, and you get 8 coaching calls with Tarun Gulati, who is the founder of Contemplate. He will be providing the live coaching calls for that, where he will take you through the contemplation sessions. And that comes along with the 1-year subscription, so that you get all of that to get you through the holidays and launch you into a brand new year and a new you, physically and mentally.
I love that because I mean the two really do go together, right? And I loved what you
Yeah.
said of you can't outwork a bad diet, and so you've got to have that mindset right if you truly want to continue that on. I mean, the thing of it is that we kind of hype ourselves up and we say, okay, I want to lose 45 pounds. And then if the mindset's not right, we either one, don't make that goal and we beat ourselves up about it the whole time, or we reach that and we're like, okay. And then we just kind of relax and go back into,
Mhm.
regular old habits.
Well, there's that one acronym, HALT. So hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Don't make decisions when you're any of
Any
those.
decisions, not
Yeah,
just not just what you eat. No decisions to be
anything.
made.
No. So that goes along with diet and exercise too. Like, don't go to the grocery store hungry. And if you're going out to a party or something, don't go hungry. So one of the tips I say is, fast before you go to the party, because you're going to have something that is going to be a little more calorie dense. So fast before you go to the party, have a big old protein shake or something similar before you go, so you're not hungry. So you don't go there and just start shoving food in your mouth. It takes a while for the message to get from our stomach to our brain that we're full. And so we tend to overeat before we are actually full. That's why it's good to chew your food slowly and eat at a slower pace, so you're not just shoveling food in like we did when we were kids.
Very interesting. Well, I love how you really come alongside others, and because those are just all things like you don't know unless you know, right? It's kind of like
Mhm.
hiring a financial advisor. Like that is their job to know those things, and you can just take those questions to them. Like I never thought about the fact of how you're eating, and you think you're not full, and then 2 seconds later
Mhm.
you are full. Like that totally makes sense. But by the time you realize it, you've like overdone it.
Yeah, yeah, and we tend to think that the portions we're eating are small, are uh, along a regular portion size. So we think that this pile of potatoes is a half a cup, but really it's probably a cup and a half. So
Interesting.
having that discipline to every once in a while kind of audit yourself and do a measure. Okay, well that's not a half a cup. This is a half a cup, and really kind of keep your mind on what a portion size actually is. And if you're going to overeat anything, please overeat in protein. It is metabolically expensive for your body to convert protein into fat. So your body would rather get rid of it than to store it as fat. People just have to be careful that if they have any issues with their kidneys or have any disease that prevents them from eating a lot of protein, that they definitely talk to their doctor before consuming excessive amounts of protein.
Yeah. And then Heidi, what are I don't know if I should say wrong beliefs or maybe misconceptions, but I'd love for you to share the best way to lose weight but also build muscle when it comes to like how we work out, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a lot to say with walking. Some people can't necessarily do the high intense workouts because they have joint pain or,
Yeah.
just other things that we're dealing with. So I'd love for your thoughts on that.
So if the most that you can do is walk, wear a weighted vest, add
Mm.
some resistance to your body. That's going to help also with maintaining your bone, especially if you're getting into those later years where you have to worry about osteoporosis or osteopenia. So wearing that weighted vest, the weight is central, so it's not on the joints, but it's just putting some more stress on your body as you're walking. So that would be one recommendation. Another one is if you can't do intense workouts, there are things you can do with weights that don't require jumping. So a lot of us ladies, after we have kids, there might be some bladder leakage. And so jumping's just kind of off the table because nobody wants to wet their pants in the gym. So there are some things you can do with lifting where it increases the intensity and your heart rate without putting the pressure on your joints or bladder. In this example, I do like high intensity interval training. So a lot of people hate cardio. I am one of them. If you put me on an elliptical for 40 minutes, I'm going to want to poke my eyes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am in that camp.
Okay. So you will like high intensity interval training. And I remember reading about this. Arnold Schwarzenegger swore by it. He did 1 minute and 40 seconds leisurely, just kind of doing your thing. And then for 20 seconds, you are all out. So you are pushing yourself to the limit. You up the resistance, whatever it is. If you're on the elliptical, if you're on the rower, the incline, if you're on the treadmill, and you get that heart rate up for 20 seconds and then come back down for the 1 minute 40 and kind of relax. It's painful, figuratively painful while you're doing it, but it mimics a workout metabolically like you were lifting. And you just do it for a short amount of time. So if you do 5 to 10 rounds of that, that's 20 minutes. Then you have a warm up and cool down. You're done in 30 minutes. So you're in and out, done. So when I'm in a pinch, that's what I end up doing is I'll do HIIT training, and you can do it with anything. You could be just doing squats, and then all of a sudden you just jump into thrusters, which are squats with dumbbells, and you push your arms up. And that gets the heart rate up. Do that for 20 seconds. So you can do it in any which way where you have 1 minute 40 of rest and 20 seconds of all out. And that would mimic weightlifting if you don't have time to lift weights. But to build muscle, you need to stress the muscles. You need to cause damage to the muscle so your body comes back and repairs it and builds it stronger. So that's what weightlifting does.
It's painful for that 20 seconds, but it's only 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's only 20 seconds of misery, and then you kind of cool down. And sometimes you have to work up to it. Your cardiovascular health and fitness, it might not be where mine is or where somebody else is that might be younger than you or in better shape. So you work up to it. You just don't go out and test the limits right away. You kind of work your way into it. And that's part of everything, is that going to the gym once a week is better than zero. So if you don't make it 5 times a week, okay, did you make it once? Well, let's celebrate that versus get down on ourselves for not getting there all 5 days.
Well, I love that too, because then we have a tendency that if we feel like we can't do what we think we should be doing, then we just give up, right? Like, well, I was only able to go one time this week, so I may not be able to go any next week. And then we just kind of stop and give up on it.
Yeah. It's just I used to say to my clients, it's the baby steps that get you to your goal. It's not these big leaps and jumps that get you there. It is the day in, the day out, the minutia of life, that you're continually going down the same path that gets you to your goal. And stop focusing on like a huge weight loss or a quick fix to get you there. You need to really just be consistent, eat good food, whole foods, and exercise. really is that simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. I can think of maybe one person, but uh, it's it's just the consistency, and a lot of times we lack the time or the drive to be that consistent.
Yeah. When I definitely wanna bring it back to the GLP-1s because I
Yeah.
feel like, and it kinda feels like a perfect segue because if you're listening, you're like, "Wow, this is a lot of things to keep in mind," and there's
Yeah.
GLP-1s on the market now,
Hmm.
and to me, GLP-1s are that thing that's like, if it's too good to be true, probably
Yeah.
not. So, how many times have we heard someone say, "Well, if I could put a magic diet pill, I'd be a millionaire." Well, that's kind of what GLP-1s came on the market to me. I was like, "Oh, it's just a shot and you lose all this weight." But we're hearing of all these
Hmm.
absolutely terrible side effects. The
Yeah.
commercials themselves list some of the things that could happen, but I've
Hmm.
personally heard other people in my circle that have either know someone who's taking it or I personally know someone who's taking it that has had some major issues. So I
Yeah.
would love for you to highlight that and why we should stay away from them.
Yes. So GLP-1s, they are they there's a receptor agonist, and this is the class of the medication that's called the GLP-1s, the Wegovys, and all of the other ones that are out now, Ozempics. And so it mimics the hormone glucagon-like peptide 1. And this is a hormone that your body creates naturally in the gut. And it's created by there's a bacteria in your gut. It's an anaerobic bacteria, meaning it can't be around any oxygen. And so this occurs naturally in our gut. But with all the foods that we eat, that have all of these, they're highly processed, and we're just not supporting our gut health, and our microbiome is just really under attack on a daily basis, literally. And this is why we're seeing type 2 diabetes and the obesity epidemics that we're running into. So these GLP-1 drugs, they were created for type 2 diabetes, and they were created to help people lose the weight and lower their A1C so they could have a better outcome with the disease that they're fighting. And it had a great side effect of making people lose excess amounts of weight, over 20% of their weight. So the GLP-1s, although they do help you, they cause a lot of issues. So there's gastrointestinal issues, so nausea, vomiting, constipation, gastroparesis. That's where your your whole digestive system just halts. Like it's like, I'm not working, I'm done, I'm out of here. Um, so that is a huge issue with these drugs. Also, pancreatitis, kidney stone or kidney issues, gallbladder disease. There's been 162 deaths that have happened from these drugs, and it's what happens when you stop. Where do you go from there? Because you're changing your body, and you need to be able to continue down this road once you stop. And I read one study that said that people might have to be on them long term because of what these drugs do. Um, Another thing is thyroid tumors that have been shown to happen with GLP-1 drugs. So the alternative is diet and exercise and having a healthy gut biome. And you do that through eating whole foods, taking great probiotics. And then there is one probiotic called Akkermansia, I think that's the name of it. And you can buy this on Amazon. It is an anaerobic um, bacteria that lives in your gut. And you take this while you're in a fasted state. So first thing in the morning, and you don't eat for at least an hour afterwards. So it gets into your lower gut as quickly as possible. You want to make sure that
Mm.
the transit time is reduced. So if you eat with it, it might not get to your lower gut in, quick enough. And so then if it comes in contact with oxygen, it dies. So you have to be able to take it while you're fasted and then continue to fast after you take it. And if you can build this up, it mimics, or it produces the GLP-1 and will help you maintain weight by taking this probiotic. Also, there's other things that can help with insulin sensitivity. That's the big issue with type 2 diabetes, that your body needs more insulin to get the cells to accept the glucose that you're consuming. And so it's like when you're insulin sensitive, you eat your food and insulin's like, hey, knocking on the cell doors, let me in. And the cells open up and let the glucose in. When you're insulin resistant, it takes more and more insulin to get those cell walls to open up to accept the glucose so your body can process it. So that's what that insulin resistance means. And so fasting is a great way to become more insulin sensitive. Ketosis, which is a state of being. So when you're in ketosis, your body produces ketone bodies versus using glucose for fuel. It's difficult to stay in ketosis, and it's terrible trying to get there because you go through like this metabolic wasteland trying to get into ketosis, but they have new tools that help you get there through exogenous ketones, where you take them, you drink them, and you can get the benefits of ketones without actually being in ketosis. So there are other things out there that help you become more insulin sensitive, to decrease the appetite and to lose the weight without injecting yourself with this drug that is making billions for the pharmaceutical companies. And going back to that point of if you could make a weight loss drug or pill, you'd be a millionaire. Well, we're making billionaires out of these pharmaceutical companies because of these drugs. We need to get used to being uncomfortable, and that means diet, exercise, and it's okay to be a little hungry. It's mindset.
No, and I mean, it's just like, I feel like the moral of the story is rage against instant gratification. Really.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, in everything, anything that is worth having, it's gonna take work. I mean, there's no other way to dance around it. And um I mean, if you want to be healthy, this is required. I mean, it's a long-term trade for a long-term gain instead of the short-term answer, and then you're going to have long-term problems choosing to take the GLP-1s.
Yeah, I agree. There are too many consequences that come with it, and it's just a risk I don't want any of my friends or family to take in losing weight.
Yeah.
I know that it might be necessary in some instances. I'm not saying it's bad, 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 bad all the time, but if you're trying to lose weight, give it, the old college try where you're consistent and you're eating well, and have that accountability. Contemplate is a wonderful companion to weight loss because it gives you an outlet to really think deeply on what matters to you and find out your why. Like, why do you really want to lose weight? And what are you getting out of it? Is it because you want to be able to have children? Because sometimes that's an issue. Is it because you want to be able to hold your grandchildren and be able to play with them, and you don't want to get winded walking up the steps? There's so many reasons that are deep and profound that people have to lose weight. It's not about bikini season. It's about feeling better. Right. And so having that companion to walk alongside you and help you find out why you want this and to keep you focused on it instead of letting all of the distractions get in your way and take you off track.
Yeah, I love that. So I'd like to take this. I definitely want to talk about you running for office.
Okay.
And I'm going to tee this up because the other thing that I didn't really mention in our intro and at the start of the show, but because I know a little bit about you, Heidi, and your story, I would love for you just to share what led up to that and whatever you want to share about your story, because the culmination of all this and what has led Heidi to where she is today and your success and just how you're helping other people is the shared foundation that you and I have in Christ, right? Like everything we do, he leads us. He's brought us both out of really dark, not fun, scary places. And I would just love for you to share that. And I'm just going to sit back and listen and be
Okay.
re-inspired, because every time I talk to you, I just learn something new and it's just refreshing. So,
Well, about running for office, it was probably the summer of 2023. God gave me this dream that I was taking the place of a senator from my state and that I needed to run for office. And I'm like, me? No, you can't be serious. Like, see the closet full of skeletons back there? No way. And so I had been wrestling with it for just that time from it's probably June all the way up through the winter. And then I had met Nancy Major during that time, and she further inspired me to continue down this path that God was leading me. And out of frustration, because the Republican Party was not answering me when even to volunteer, I sent an email to the Independence Party of Minnesota. And during this whole time, I was actually appointed by my governor to a task force for mental health. And I sit on this task force. In 2023, I was on the task force. Now it's a review board, but our Attorney General and our Health and Human Services Secretary are both on this task force. So I'm up close and personal with major political party people in the on this task force, and seeing how things work in the Minnesota government. I was astounded at the waste of my time, waste of taxpayer money for this task force. If I ran my team at my job the way they were running this task force in those beginning months, I would have been fired. And so that further kind of fueled me to, I'm like, okay, I need to run for office because we just need to cut the fat and make government run better. We need somebody that's not just a politician, that actually has worked in corporate America to run our state. And so when I was airing my frustrations to the Independence Party, they're like, hey, can you meet? I'm like, sure, when? They're like, tonight. Oh, okay. And so I was praying with my friend, and she said, well, let's make sure this is from God. So if we are going to pray that God makes it abundantly clear that this is what he wants you to do. So I go and meet with the Independence Party. And during the meeting, we're talking about my beliefs and where I stand. And they said, we usually don't do this. We do a little more vetting, but we want you to run for us. And so that was the beginning of this road down to going into politics. And so fast forward to May, since it was a third-party candidacy, I had to get 500 valid signatures, which means I need about 600 signatures to be able to be included on the ballot. I knocked on doors for 2 weeks, got the signatures I needed, went down to the Secretary of State's office, filled out the information they wanted, turned in all of my signatures. And it wasn't just like, here, sign here. You had to put your name, your day and month of birth, your middle name, your last name, your address, your phone number, like everything. There was so much information that they wanted on this form. And so a lot of people are like, no, sorry. So it was an exercise in patience and going for that no, because there were a lot of them, but you just keep going, you keep going. And I just leaned into Jesus. I'm like, Jesus, I'm following what you told me to do. So I'm just going to knock on that next door and see if I get yelled at again about abortion. So go to the Secretary of State's office, turn everything in. They hand me the receipt. I've filed everything for my candidacy. And I get a call. I was at a FEW meeting in Milwaukee at the time. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't turn in the right form. I'm like, what? What form? Well, the form that you were supposed to fill out. I said, the form that the guy was supposed to give me, the man at the Secretary of State's office? And they like, yes, that form. I said, well, how could I fill it out if I didn't get the form? Well, it's your responsibility. So I could not run in 2024. So because of that form,
Wow.
I compared it to going to the DMV. I said, I wouldn't get a receipt for everything if I didn't have the right form for the DMV. I have the receipt right here. And they're like, sorry, it's your responsibility. I'm like, okay, I get it. So the political aspirations were dashed for 2024. We'll see where God leads me for 2026. That was definitely a hard no, but it could have been a hard not yet, just to see if I was faithful. We don't know. We'll see what comes out of that. But something has to change politically. It's nuts. We need more Christians. We need more people
Amen.
that answer to God in
Amen.
politics.
So should you choose to run again in 2026, do you have to recollect 600 signatures?
If I choose to run as an independent, I do. If I run as a unsupported as a Democrat or Republican, I can just pay the $100 fee. But if I run as a third party, any third party has to get those signatures.
Wow.
Yeah. They make it easy for the big two, and they make it really hard for anybody else.
Yeah. So, what do you say to someone, Heidi? Because I feel like we've all experienced something like that in just a different form, right? Where even, because you're right, I mean, it could have been not God saying you heard me wrong, but a little bit of a trial, a little bit of a learning, a little bit of not right now. Like, what is your encouragement to others who are facing that same thing, right? Because you put in a lot of work before you got that not right now.
Yes. Yeah. Initially I was really embarrassed because I had my website up, I had everything that I was going to run.
Right.
And then I said, I was faithful. I did what I believed God was asking me to do. And I sacrificed and I did the things that needed to be done to follow through with that. And so God knows I'm faithful. And I would just encourage people that if you believe God is leading you in a direction, we should obey. It's our job to obey him. He's not going to lead us into anything that's going to, we might experience pain with it, but he's going to lead us into our path, into his will for us. He's not going to lead us away from him.
And I'll tee this up a little bit because I know that you can speak to it, but something that's kind of really been on my heart lately is for those who just feel like they're too far gone, right? Like, we hear that Jesus leaves the 99 to save the one. But I feel like we can still go through life going, well, he didn't mean me one. He meant someone else one, not me one. And I just get this, almost this picture, and I'm sure it's like from a horror movie or something, but of just like this kind of black, I don't know, maybe it's like the picture that's coming to mind is almost like the Spider-Man, and I don't even know which Spider-Man movie this is because there's been so many Spider-Mans. So I couldn't tell you which one, but I think Venom was the character,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
Venom, it like starts out good Spider-Man, and then this black stuff just kind of like starts to creep over and take over and produces something else. Like I almost feel like that's how we can be if we feel like we're down this path of too far gone, and it's just like we're pushed down by this blackness. How do we get out? Um, you and I have gotten out, and you would probably agree with me when I said, we're in places that we never imagined that God would ever
Mhm.
have for us.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say to those listening if they feel like they're that they're the Venom character, like it's just taking
Mhm.
over and I don't know how I'm ever getting out of this?
So God's faithful. And from a young age, I knew I had a relationship with God. I grew up Jewish, so there was that. And as I was growing up, I got sucked into a very dark place. And I just wrote about this in the Power of Yes book that will be coming out, I think, next year. But
Which is a few publication.
yes,
Yes.
correct.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I wrote a chapter for that, and it's my yes story about how I said yes to Jesus. So growing up Jewish, the most I knew about Jesus was Jesus Christ Superstar. For some reason, they made us watch it in Sunday school. Like, okay, and I don't know if you remember that movie, but yeah, it's
Yeah, I do. Yes.
it wasn't like a great movie about Jesus. So let's
Right.
put it that way.
No.
It's kind of mocking him.
Yes.
So that's all I knew about him. I didn't know about how he
Wow.
will leave everyone else who's saved, and go get you who's down in that pit, who is doing the wrong thing, and saying, I love you. I am here for you. Let me help you out. All you have to do is accept my help. And that that was me. I was in
Mm.
college. I was in a very dark place. I was working in a nightclub that I should not have been working in. And through that, God brought people in my life. My best friend to this day, I met her there, and our lives have been parallel as we came out of the darkness of this seedy lifestyle into the light, that Jesus came and saved each of us in a different way and brought us out. And we can use that to help other people who feel the shame, who feel that they are dirty or not good enough and that they would never be accepted. You are a new creation in Christ. I mean, look at Paul, his conversion on the road to Damascus. I mean, he was a murderer. I never murdered anyone, so that just
Right.
my own self-respect. But um, God saves us, and he comes to those dark places with us,
Mm.
and he says, "Here, take my hand. I love you anyway, and you're never too far gone."
I love that so much. I'm so grateful that you came on today and just share a little bit about you and your story. And I know sometimes it's even hard, right? That's hard to
Yeah,
kind
it
of
is.
look back and
Yes.
share.
Oh, I don't want to spoil it all because they'll just have to read the book.
Yeah, they will. We'll drop links, everyone. As soon as it releases, we'll let everyone know. And we have your friend, uh, she just signed
Andy.
up to be on the
Yeah.
podcast. So she'll be on later, guys. So you'll have to check back.
Yeah, and she'll probably spill the beans before the book's out, so you'll know then. So teaser.
Well, Heidi, if people, if they want to get in touch with you, learn more about Hsquared Wellness, the new program that you're teeing up to take them into the new year, into a better place, how do they do that? How do they?
So the website is hsquaredwellness.com. If they want to email me directly, it's just Heidi at hsquaredwellness.com.